So, it's Wednesday. 24 years of age, you wouldn't imagine that this would still be a problem, but it's Wednesday. That means it's Workshop Wednesdays. This is pretty amazing. We're on YouTube now, which is pretty crazy. I never anticipated the Instagram to YouTube switch at any point for these videos, but here we are, we're doing it, and here's hoping it works. Yeah, so today what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about depth of field in your cocktail photos or photos in general. Look, depth of field accounts for every photo ever taken, ever. Think of it this way, okay? Every photo that you take technically is two-dimensional, okay? You're taking photos of three-dimensional things, but when you put it on a screen or you put it on a piece of paper, it's two-dimensional, and really depth of field helps you to try and translate that three-dimensional feel. Okay, there's two types of depth of field. You've got shallow depth of field, and you've also got great depth of field. It's not deep depth of field, but yeah. So shallow depth of field, that means there's less in focus in the photo and there's only going to be part of the shot that's going to be super crisp, which is personally what I enjoy about cocktail photos. That's how I do it, and it is all subjective. Look, what I say I do doesn't mean it's right, it's just the way I do it and the way I like to take my photos. And then you've got great depth of field, which means really that there's going to be more in focus in the photo. So if you're out in the countryside, for example, and you see this hill that's winding up into the distance and a road and there's cars and there's trees and there's like so much in the shot, but it like all adds to it, and you want everything to be perfectly crisp, you're going to want a great depth of field, and that's going to be making sure everything's in the shot, everything's super crisp. So obviously we're talking about cocktails here, okay, and drink photography especially, which is that's what I do, and it's what I enjoy, and I like having an excuse to make myself drinks. So yeah, let's actually do that just now. Let's make myself a drink. Oh, this is super cold. Okay, so this is quite a cool wee angle, this, isn't it? Quite like it. So okay, so let's move you back up here. So I'll see you in a second. I'm going to switch over lenses now. So you can see from the first image that you've got a lot of blur going on in the foreground as well as the background, and the only thing that's really in focus is that cocktail, and what that tends to do is it just draws your eye towards the subject, and I tend to find that it's a lot more aesthetically pleasing, and it creates a better image in my eyes. And when you see with the second image, what that is there's a lot more in focus. Your eyes aren't really sure where to go, but there's just a lot going on that your eyes will be looking at that really there's no point in looking at it. I mean, for example, the background, it's like you've got a jigger and you've got like kind of the rest of the wall, and you've got some things going on underneath the cocktail, and it's like, I don't know, I mean, it's just in my eyes, I tend to find that a really shallow depth of field works wonders for cocktail photography. Now, how to do it, it's all about aperture. That's literally all that is it's changing the aperture. So with making sure you've got that shallow depth of field, you need to make sure that aperture is low. Usually I'll shoot on around 2.5 to maybe about 3.5, and that just really allows me to get a nice shallow depth of field and get that lovely blurry background that you see in most of my photos. And the higher that you go, the more that everything will be in focus, really. Also, what you can see is framing subjects with things in the foreground as well works really well for me, and making sure that I've got that shallow depth of field and the things are nice and blurred. So you can see I'm framed by a lovely plant on this side and a lovely plant on this side, and if I put this closer to the lens, it's going to be more blurred. So like, it's just wee things like that, playing about with it, and trying to figure out what works best for you. Just kind of have a play about with it, and have a play about with it. I'll tell you though, that is a tasty daiquiri. I'm going to leave the recipe on my Instagram, so head over to that if you don't follow me already, and whip it up as well, and then we can have a wee virtual cheers. And thank you for joining me. Honestly, thank you for joining me. If you're drinking, cheers. If you're not, get yourself a drink.